Hello and welcome to this session on simplifying OT cybersecurity. I am Aswami Najat, cybersecurity lead engineer for Schneider Electric based in Malaysia. Digital transformation initiatives such as IoT, smart manufacturing, and smart building enable our customers to improve business performance across their operational lifecycle. However, despite advantages, they bring significant cyber risk. Today, many companies are still reacting to their business risk, especially the cybersecurity risks that threaten their safety, efficiency, and reliability. But if companies want to protect and improve the overall business performance and resiliency, they need to consider moving from reactive to proactive cybersecurity management because the risks are dynamic, ongoing, and evolving. To proactively mitigate and manage the risk across the life cycle, companies need to establish a strong cybersecurity foundation and a synergy between three pillars of people, process, and technology. The first pillar is people. That there are a lot of companies that struggle to keep their people trained, aware, and engaged to strengthen their cybersecurity culture. Second pillar is process that are often not well documented and defined, and review and updating them is a real challenge. And the third pillar is technology, that is the key for building a resilient cybersecurity framework. However, this pillar can become bottleneck if companies invest in wrong technologies that leads to wasting money and getting poor results. Same issue raised when larger companies implement a complex combination of technology and techniques to secure their architecture. This requires tremendous changes in their organization and operation at all levels, a process that often faces resistance from the employee. Therefore, companies need to understand that effective cybersecurity risk management is not all about the addressing technologies and techniques. It's now about integrating people, process, and technology. That is really hard to achieve. One solution to overcome this challenge is simplifying the cybersecurity. Companies have to plan to reduce the complexity, ease of integration, and strengthen the operation and manage their security operation from a single platform that is flexible and scalable. With this platform running the show from the backstage and trained experienced staff providing oversight, process can run smoothly and securely. I am joined today by Jay Abdullah, Vice President of Cybersecurity Services at Schneider Electric. Welcome, Jay.
Hi, Sue. Thanks for having me.
In your experience, how do these challenges impact companies and how are they addressing them?
So we have to start at the beginning of this journey, and that really does start with the people aspect. So what we're seeing is that many of these organizations are now setting up specific roles within the organization. So as you may know, one of the very first steps in the creation of a cybersecurity management system is to assign the people to specific roles and to specific tasks. So once we've set those roles up and set the expectation and we know whom to communicate in certain scenarios, then we have to develop training programs. And we want to develop these training programs to make sure that everybody is consistently kept up to speed on exactly what it is that we're trying to achieve. From HR all the way up through and including executive leadership and the engineers, technicians, maintenance personnel on staff, it's extremely important to have security as part of your ongoing and consistent training program. How do we reinforce these consistent policies on a regular basis? And how do we make sure that they're accepted by our personnel? So when we talk about IT and OT challenges, particularly for non-process automation types of customers or less critical industries, at some point, we do have to make sure to equalize that focus on the triad that you had mentioned, people, process, and technology. Now, eventually, even though we may consequently begin the discussion with technology, and that could be a misstep, eventually, once we have the training programs in place, once we have the people identified, once we have the program actually created, and we've established the appropriate documentation, which includes the processes and the procedures on how to handle your traditional operation, as well as incidents and response criteria, at some point, that conversation will indeed come back to technology. So here, we want to start spending a little bit more time on the challenges that are faced by these medium and small operations within the complexity of cybersecurity technology. So it's really important here to understand the dynamic nature of cybersecurity and, frankly speaking, the struggles of how to keep up with it from all aspects, which includes the triad, again, people, process, and technology. So many of these companies are actually struggling to install and maintain multiple security applications from multiple vendors. Let's say, for example, you've got a central authentication mechanism from one vendor, an endpoint protection or a multi-tiered endpoint protection solution from a different vendor. You've got network segmentation technologies from a networking vendor, unidirectional data diode for traffic flow going from a different vendor. You've got a patch management solution, a central backup solution. These are all great host and network-based technologies to have within our operational technology infrastructures. But for the most part, they're coming to us from different vendors, which means there's a whole lot of different maintenance tasks and management and overhead and training that is required in order to keep these maintained and operating as efficiently as possible. So with the wide range of operating systems now, when we cross-reference those types of solutions and the different industries that we, for example, are trying to work within, it really becomes challenging to adapt to the new threats and to stay current with the evolving technology landscape. So here's really important to understand that the lack of skills, specifically when it comes to installation, maintenance, configuration, and management of these applications, it comes back down to having a level of support by the suppliers themselves. And it's not just from the overall enterprise perspective, but it actually now gets a little bit more detailed where it's support on a project by project basis. So it's difficult to really scale as an organization as they continue to grow and as the dynamic landscape continues to widen. It's really difficult to scale what those challenges could be. And really, frankly speaking, the bottom line is that the complexity actually results in a significant effort from a costing perspective all the way on through to the maintenance perspective. This is really all about, it's an exercise of costing. How are we costing from a resource perspective? How are we costing from a time perspective? And overall, is this really helping us to reduce our risks effectively? And is it really helping us to tackle the overall consistently evolving security landscape? And sometimes it's actually a little bit challenging to identify whether or not we're more or less secure than we've first started off on this journey.
That's a great perspective, Jay. I have seen those same challenges in several of my customers. One particular example stands out that the customer is a large global integrated oil and gas company. Even though they have a corporate cybersecurity roles and a wide range of technologies, the operation group struggled to find a simple, effective way to understand the potential cybersecurity threats and manage and mitigate them better. They could have used a complex SIEM solution, but it required a lot of IT involvement, a huge amount of configuration that was a really overkill for what they needed. We were able to provide a simple solution that focused on their priority assets and risks and gave them a simple dashboard to monitor what was happening in their operation and network. It's a platform also that they can expand in the future. Jay, what else is Schneider Electric working on to help companies address the challenges that you spoke about?
Thanks, Asu. You know, I actually know the project that you're talking about, and it's a great example of the need that customers have to find the right solution right now. Now, with that being said, they want to make sure that these solutions are indeed meeting their exact requirements for the time being. However, they want to make sure that it's not limited by a finite period of time that is specific, for example, to only meet one compliance criteria requirement depending on the industry or the country that you're operating within. So because of that, they want to make sure that they can grow with the changing market dynamics and consistently be able to manage these operations and these applications on a scalable basis. So as a security services and solutions provider, it's really important for us to understand the risks and then help them to design solutions to address those risks at the most basic level. But with that, we want to then take it one step further to answer the all-important question that we're always asked. Can you indeed provide us with one application or a single package that meets all of my security needs? In the past, we've always called this a silver bullet. And while we're not certainly saying that there is indeed a silver bullet when it comes to creating a security infrastructure, there most certainly is the ability to package solutions together and make them a whole lot easier to operate, a whole lot easier to manage and maintain. And of course, from a costing perspective, it's just much easier to be introduced into the operational expenditure lifecycle within any given budget. So we're really excited to be working on exactly that kind of platform. The goal is to bring leading software packages and products together in a way that can be implemented, configured, and managed in a very simple way that meets their specific criteria right now, but that are scalable to adapt to the ever-changing landscapes and needs. Now, the beauty of many of these leading cybersecurity products and technologies is the fact that most of them today are software-based. So when we take into consideration the fact that these previous solutions very well could have been relatively thick applications that required their own server or their entire small network infrastructure to manage and provide the security services that they do, today they're relatively lightweight in software-based packages, and they can work together to create a very small and relatively efficient package in a singular infrastructure. So what we're really doing here is we're taking advantage of containerization, which is a relatively new technology in the OT space, and it's very rapidly growing in that companies are developing and deploying new software applications that can work together. So these software containers can really be pre-installed and configured on a server or a virtual machine and easily be set up at the customer's site. So if we take into comparison, a traditional virtual infrastructure versus a containerized application set, what's really the big difference is that the containerized environment doesn't require one virtual server for each host-based solution that we're providing. I know that in the past, you could indeed join up multiple solutions onto singular virtual platforms, but the reality was we always suffered from a performance perspective. So with that being said, compatibility is no longer an issue because the only thing that's being virtualized here in these types of situations are that the software package themselves are being containerized and virtualized into a singular package, into a relatively lightweight hardware kit or a software kit that already exists at the customer's site. And it really makes it very, very efficient and very easy to scale across the entire enterprise. So with the right setup, these new applications can be added to your existing cybersecurity environment, and the old ones can be replaced slowly one by one as you see fit, or as licensing need to be updated. And this entirety of the cybersecurity infrastructure at this point can become a whole lot more flexible and scalable. We're really talking here about software-based platforms that provide leading-edge cybersecurity applications in a way that reduces overhead. That's really one of our most important takeaways here is process efficiency. We're looking to reduce the overhead by installing and configuring multiple systems and reducing that cost accordingly to make sure that there is no huge level of complexity to manage them on an ongoing basis. So Schneider Electric, of course, we provide the security expertise, and we work very closely with our customers to understand the need first. That's step number one. What are we trying to achieve? Is it just pure risk reduction? Is it in response to an incident? Is it compliance criteria to your industry or your national standard? And based on that data input, we then collect what is actually required, and we develop the best solution to meet that unique need. The goal of this new platform is to make it very easy for our customers to get the cybersecurity protection that they need, but again, in a much more flexible, scalable, and a less complex manner. So we're really excited about the promise of this platform and the direction that we're going to simplify cybersecurity protection for operations in all industries and for companies of any size.
That sounds very exciting, Jay. Thanks for that explanation, and thank you to everyone who joined us today. We hope that this session provides some insight into ways to simplify OT cybersecurity. We invite you to visit our website to learn more about our cybersecurity solutions. Please contact the local Schneider Electric representative for more detail, or send any question to cybersecurity-services@se.com as shown on the screen.
Thank you, Asu. Thanks, everybody.